views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Good evening and welcome to BronxTalk. Tonight, it's the debate for the Democratic primary in the 13th City Council District, a district that includes the Bronx neighborhoods of Allerton, City Island, Country Club, Pelham Parkway, Throgs Neck, Van Nest, and Westchester Square. The current occupant of the seat is Jimmy Vaca, who is term limited at the end of this year, so there will be a new council member for those communities in 2018. All four of the Democratic candidates who will be on the ballot in September are here with us. The primary is September 12th, and they are Assemblyman Mark Jonai, who has represented the 80th Assembly District since 2013, Marjorie Velasquez, Democratic District Leader and Treasurer of Community Board 10, John Doyle, a board member of the 45th Precinct Council, and he works in public affairs at Jacobi Medical Center, and Egidio Cementilli, a longtime community activist and businessman. Tonight's debate is co-sponsored by the Bronx Times Reporter, also the Bronx Free Press, and the League of Women's Voters, a nonpartisan political organization that advocates for informed and active participation in government and works to increase understanding of major public policy issues. We, of course, are thrilled to have them on board. The primary election is Tuesday, September 12th, and all eligible voters are encouraged to vote. Candidates, tonight's debate will include a question directed to one candidate. That candidate will respond, and then we will have a free-flowing dialogue that each candidate can participate in with the original respondent having the final say on the matter before the next question is asked. At the end of the program, each candidate will be given the opportunity to deliver a 1-minute closing statement. Please note that tonight's questions include those submitted by the candidates themselves. By prior agreement, the first question will be directed to Assemblyman Jonai. Nice to have you with us, sir. Thank you for joining us. Assemblyman, it's no secret that along with being a sitting assemblyman, you and your family have been in the real estate industry with interests in property within the 13th Council District. As you know, I moderated legislative breakfasts for local realtors where you made it quite clear your opposition to rent regulations and support for the property owner side of the housing equation. Your opponents and their supporters are concerned that these holdings and interests provide a conflict of interest, especially given the controversies surrounding so many development proposals in the district. The council has lots of zone changes and housing and development issues that go before it. So if you are elected to the city council, should tenants be concerned that you won't have their advocacy at heart?
First of all, thank you for having me on, Gary. Good to see you again. And absolutely not. They shouldn't be concerned. While in the Assembly, I introduced an incredible bill, the Tree Bill, Tenant Rent Increase Exemption Program, where any family earning less than $50,000 would not be subject to a future rent increase. So I believe in being fair to the approach. The arguments have always been whether you be a property owner of a multiple family building or a private home, it's about real estate taxes, water and sewer rates, and making sure that we have affordable housing in New York City. So I'll be a strong advocate for our residents.
Okay. Others want to weigh in? Mr. Doyle, sure.
Thank you, Gary, for having me, and I want to thank my fellow competitors for being here. It's not just about tenants. It's about homeowners. It's about people living in our district. It's about the specter of overdevelopment. That's what I hear about when I'm on the doors so very often. And the fact of the matter is, over $300,000 has come in from out-of-city interests. They're not giving for philanthropic purposes. They're giving because they're going to want favors after Mr. Jonai gets in. And that's where I feel the public finance system has been so helpful, because we take the influence away from the developers and give it back to the people. I'm proud to be a leader in that system, and I'm proud to fight every day for ordinary New Yorkers and Bronxites.
Okay, others? Anybody? Marjorie?
I'll take it then.
Sure, you can. Go ahead.
I'm concerned with Mr. Jarnai. His family's interest in the real estate has an effect on our community. Presently, recently, we've had lots that were sold to Stag Industry. Now, could I say that Mr. Jarnai's family knew that Stag was going to turn these properties into, these lots into homeless shelters? Absolutely not. I can't say that, honestly. But there are interests. And the example here, in addition to what I just mentioned, is that there's over $630,000 that he raised. It's a lot of money. We cannot buy this district. The real estate industry cannot buy our district of Thrugs Neck, Pelham Bay, City Island, and all the Morris Park. We cannot buy this district with money. Thank you.
Okay, others? You want to, I'm assuming you want to respond to that.
Look, there's two ways to run these campaigns. One on negativity, divisiveness, and one on a very positive, deliver the message and show the people of the 13th Council District what you're going to do for them. My opponent's obviously choosing the first, to run a negative campaign. When I raised money in the district, it was too much. When I started raising it outside of the state, why is he raising money out of state? Rest assured that I will be fighting for every man, woman, and child and their interests. And to go further, when it comes to the supportive housing units, I am on the cusp of getting ready to file a lawsuit to prevent the borough of the Bronx from being inundated by supportive housing. Joe and I can't be bought. And I'm proud of the relationships that I've developed, the support that I'm getting. I'm proud of all of those that believe in me, that I'm going to do right by the city, but I am not going to be bought by any developer or any special interest group. That's my promise, and I haven't been able to be bought in the past, and I assure you that I'll always work in the best interest of the people.
You wanted to say?
Yes.
And let's let Ms. Velasquez, because you already spoke, so go ahead.
Just my only challenge and my only clarification that I need is then why vote, why take a stance with vacancy decontrol like you have taken, which directly impacts the tenants that are being displaced in our district, because these are families that need to stay there, and landlords now are going to use this as a way to force them out. How do you support that? How do you deregulate that and give more landlords the incentives to evict our families from their homes?
And if I
You
just
can talk,
quickly-
and you'll certainly get the
No,
opportunity
again,
to
if
respond.
someone
I'm
wants
sure
to-
you have a response.
If someone wants to attack us for negative campaigning, that's fine. This is the Bronx. It's not Candyland. We have real serious issues here. And if we're bringing serious issues to light, serious contributions to light, it's not just a few donations, Mark. It's 59% of your donations. The Bronx deserves to know that, and they deserve to know who's influencing you.
Okay,
I just want to add,
and then we'll let you conclude. Go ahead.
I would like to add further that the real estate industry does not only control or has influence with this candidate, but also City Hall. And that's where the root of the problem is. Today, we cannot have a mayor. Mayor de Blasio is out of control. We need to send someone down there, a city councilman, that's not connected to the real estate industry. Myself, I have no interest in or connections with the politics. I've been independent politic all my life. And we need to send someone down there, not only to keep the city council in check, but to keep the mayor in check. And that's what the job of the city council is and should be, not more developers. We cannot be sending to City Hall developers who have raised over $600,000. This district cannot be bought.
Sir, you get this is the final word here.
Well, it's very simple. I have a lifelong relationship that I've built on. My position in the Assembly and in the City Council will be one that will benefit from my relationship with the real estate industry. And I mean that in a very positive way. When a tenant comes to me with real issues, I get the landlord on the phone. I'm able to communicate with him in a language that he understands very well. And 9 out of 10 times, that landlord will succumb to me. I know this field. I know this industry. I know what landlords should be able to do and what he can't do. I'll always be the voice of reason and do right by all residents.
Thank you very much. Ms. Velasquez, over the years in the Bronx, many believe that the democratic process has been interrupted by ballot and petition challenges. When we invited participants to this debate, there were 6 candidates, but now there were 4 due to ballot challenges. The 2 who are not here say that it was your campaign behind their removal. Is this a fair way to run an election process? Does it make the Bronx more or less fair?
Look, my campaign was able to collect over 3,400 signatures. These are families that want to see me on the ballot, and they're supporting my endeavors to see me represent them. And I'm proud that it was a volunteer basis, that we did not have to pay for signatures, and that we were able to do such outreach. And ultimately, I was challenged myself, and I was able to withhold this challenge because of the amount of signatures I was able to collect. Unfortunately, that was not the case for Mr. Ortiz or Mr. Gomez, where the BOE determined that they didn't have enough valid signatures.
Okay. Others?
In addition, I just want to add something to that.
Sure.
We also must remember 2016, Mr. Jonai, Assemblyman Jonai, removed on the ballot through an objection, general objection, with specifications, Iris Rosario and Irene Estrada. Why? There were no danger. They had no money to actually run against the assemblyman or have a major impact on his candidacy. No, he removed them also. And he found the same issue that Mrs. Vasquez has found. I think what's fair is fair. What's done is done, and we need to move on.
Let me just follow that up. Should candidates have valid signatures, and if they aren't valid, should they be removed because there need to be some requirements for running?
Gary, the election law is developed and have become actually more liberal than what it was many years ago, as you remember. I believe that the signatures, if you have the signatures, you stay on the ballot. That's the bottom line. I came in with 3,200 signatures. And obviously, I was not challenged. I objected to everyone's signatures here, from the mayor down. From the mayor to each one, he objected to it. It's standard protocol. If they had bad petitions, I would have gone into court and removed them also.
Yeah, Gary, this is an insider's game, and I'll just say generally, I think it hurts the process because people deserve more choices. There should be more choices. Many of these gentlemen stood with us on a stage, much like this one, and they contributed thoughtfully to the discussion. And again, this is not just one campaign. This has been going on for a long period of time. We see now in other districts, and in Manhattan, for example, where now the party bosses are going to get to choose a candidate. It's unacceptable. It drowns out the people's voices. It shouldn't happen, and we need to take substantive legislative action to change that.
Did you want to weigh in? Okay, Ms. Velasquez, you get the final word then. Nothing further? Okay. Mr. Doyle, no one could challenge your credential as a popular figure and a representative for City Island. But the 13th Council District includes so much more of the Bronx. Pelham Bay, Throgs Neck, Westchester Square, Allerton, Morris Park, and much more. With their experience in legislative office and as community advocates in broader bases of this district, are your competitors simply better qualified to address issues in those neighborhoods?
Absolutely not. And Gary, as you said when you introduced me, I'm on the board of the 45th Precinct Council. I helped co-start the East Bronx Traffic Coalition, which dealt with things like the Baychester Square shopping mall. I was the only candidate who went down to City Hall to testify against that project. Not quite a City Island thing. I fought for air monitors on the Throgs Neck Bridge. Not a City Island issue. Fought nuisance nightlife establishments in Pelham Bay. Fought for an extension of the Bronx 24 bus route in Country Club. Fought to help the Morris Park Community Patrol resolve a dispute with the Internal Affairs Bureau about their emblem. I fought overdevelopment on Allerton to start a gun program and for the first bank in Van Nest in 30 years. My record of accomplishments spans throughout the entire length of this district. And frankly, anyone thinks I'm going to favor one neighborhood, look at my record. That's all I would say.
Okay, others want to respond?
I'll respond.
Go right ahead.
I have over 30 years of experience. I happen to be the oldest candidate on this panel. And I bring 12 years on the community board. I bring another 8 years running a daycare center, over $1 million contract with the city. Not-for-profit organizations, probably for the past 20 years been involved running organizations. I've advocated for overdevelopment. I've brought
Against
people, I've advocated, thank you, Mr. Doyle.
No problem.
I've advocated against overdevelopment. We had a situation in Pelham Bay, OLA, right across the street on Parkview, one-family house, two-family house. Actually, they knocked it down. They made it into a 7-story building. We brought the community out there. We brought about 100 people out there. We got signatures. It didn't make a difference. Yes, we brought attention. We had News 12 there. Unfortunately, Pelham Bay and certain areas of out this, the developers have their claws in there, and we need to make sure that developers stay away from our community. We are overcrowded. We do not have room for parking. Thank you.
Yes.
Well, you can weigh in on it either? No? Go ahead. You
Final word on this, Gary. Nearly 20 members of Community Board 10 from every neighborhood of our district are supporting my campaign financially. Nearly 10 members of Community Board 11 have donated to my campaign. In fact, if you look on the Campaign Finance Board's website, in every zip code of the district, I'm the small dollar donations leader. So my support is broadly based throughout our district. I've worked in every neighborhood. No matter who you are, what your color is, what your creed, I'll fight for you down at City Hall.
Mr. Sementilli, it's already come up here today. You've made no secret of your extreme dislike for Mayor de Blasio. You called him, I think, at the forum that I saw on Allerton Avenue recently, the worst mayor of all time. But would you be concerned that if the public gets in line with that idea, you would pave the way for a Republican mayor who could be more sympathetic to eroding New York's status as a sanctuary city, as well as supporting the GOP move to undo Obamacare that now serves more than 300,000 Bronxites with health care?
I'm advocating this race for the mayoral race. I am advocating for Sal Albanese. Sal Albanese is a former city councilman, an advocate for all good causes, all good government causes he's taken up. That's the candidate that we have a choice. We don't have just Mr. de Blasio on September 12th on the ballot for the Democratic Party. We actually have Sal Albanese. And I urge everyone to vote for Sal Albanese because we cannot take 4 more years of Mayor de Blasio. Did I call him the worst mayor? Yes, I even call him the communist. And Mr. Joyner, I said, I speak or I am becoming a Republican. I don't know what that means, but I've been a Democrat for 30 years. So I believe that the mayor must go. We cannot tolerate another 4 more years of Mayor de Blasio. He hired no new uniform, no police, no fire department, no sanitation. But this budget, not a word from anyone, this budget he's hiring 500 more traffic agents. This is what we're getting. He's increased the budget in 4 years close to $10 billion. $10 billion budget, Gary. I don't know, where's the money gone? I don't see it. I don't see it in the streets. I don't see cleaner streets. I don't see safer streets. I don't see quieter streets. I blame de Blasio, and I blame a lack of a city council that is supposed to be there to keep this mayor in check and to benefit and represent us locally. That's why we need to send an individual that's not connected with de Blasio. Mr. Jornai is well connected with de Blasio.
Thank you very much. Others want to?
Sure. Well, Mark, if you want to mention something.
Go ahead, Mr. Doyle,
Sure.
first.
I just want to echo one point that Gidio made, a positive point on independence. Again, I'm not taking money from any influence peddlers down at City Hall. My money comes directly from the people of our district. Over 400 of my neighbors have contributed to my campaign. City Island, Throgs Neck, Morris Park, everywhere else. And I think we need someone who will go down there and be independent from the powers that be, both the county machine and the mayor's office. We need somebody who's going to stand strong for the people and put the neighborhood first. I believe I have the best record to do that. I would encourage people to look me up at johndoyle.nyc.
Thank you. Others?
Yeah.
Go ahead, sure.
To me, it's very simple. This is about getting things done. You need partnerships. And if you think we're going to get something done without the cooperation of the mayor, it's not going to happen. We need good government. People have real issues out there. There's a lot of pain and suffering and concerns in our communities. There's only one way we're going to get that done, working collectively to address those issues. I'm looking forward to supporting and continue to support Mayor de Blasio in this election and working with him on addressing the issues that are important to us, from Rodman's Neck to quality of life to safety to traffic, including alternative transportation options.
Okay, Ms. Velasquez, do you want to weigh in on this?
On Mayor de Blasio, you know what? He was able to bring us universal pre-K. He led the fight for 15. Those are some real great points, but then he's failed us. We don't have the ferry service in the Bronx, other boroughs do. And that's why I'm pushing the mayor and challenging and made that my #1 priority in my platform for next year, because you know what? Our families need better transit options here. We're a transit desert. And we need to make sure that we are fighting for our families. And I've taken that fight with the mayor in other instances where it's alternate side parking that he tried to sneak up on our residents, and I led the way, collected over 200 signatures and stopped it. And it's making sure that we're holding the mayor and the administration accountable when we can. And it's not fearing anyone and making sure that you fight every way.
Okay, you get the final word here, sir.
I stood recently with Councilman King on a project that Staggs had built, and what he did a bait and switch. It went from affordable housing to homeless services. Obviously, the mayor has a plan to put 90 homeless shelters. That is not the answer to resolving a serious problem like homelessness. It doesn't resolve. What he's doing is maintaining by not educating, not inspiring, and not giving the individuals an opportunity. What he's doing is basically he's maintaining these housing that are being produced, these supportive housing, are basically houses that people will be there for the rest of their lives. There's no out of it. It's enslavement. And that is not the resolve. Our community, middle-class community, is not going to pay for Mayor de Blasio's plan. It's not a good plan. It's illogical. And I hope that the only reason he's doing it is for development. Development, development, development.
Thank you very much. Candidates, will take a short break, and when we return, we'll talk about some of the issues in the district. Thank you very much. You're watching the 13th Council District Democratic Primary Debate on BronxNet. Welcome back to the 13th City Council Democratic Primary Debate on BronxTalk. And we are going to go around again and start with you again, Assemblyman. Let's talk about small businesses. You have acknowledged that they're getting killed in the Bronx and all over the city. There's concern about empty storefronts on East Tremont and City Island and elsewhere. You said at a recent forum on Allerton Avenue that it's time for the city to get out of the way of small businesses. But wouldn't city-inspired loan programs and tax breaks be helpful? Small business owners in the 13th Council District are crying for help. The question is how?
Well, our mom and pop shops, which truly make our community such a vibrant place to live and raise a family, are essential. We need to do more for them. Their biggest threat are big box stores, the internet, but these are the services that you can buy locally, products that you can buy locally. We need to patronize them. I'm a big supporter of the bids, the chambers that are a voice for these small businesses, and certainly any program that New York City can provide to them to help them through their most difficult times is someone that would be encouraged to support. But we also have to think outside of the box. I'm introducing something uniting all small businesses in an industry where they can buy products and services together at bulk purchase discounts. This is an approach that hasn't been used, and we need to incorporate that into the business plan for these restaurants, mom and pop shops, service providers, where they buy collectively, they pay the same price as some of the bigger stores, and they'll pay the same price for Coca-Cola and compete with McDonald's, while the customers will benefit for the cheaper price, and those store owners will be actually to benefit from the expenses.
Thank you very much. Others, small business, Mr. Doyle?
Thank you, Gary. I think one thing we need to do is realize the real estate industry has a stranglehold over our small businesses, and they really don't care whether or not some of the mom and pops succeed. I'm a strong supporter of the Small Business Jobs Survival Act. What that would do for the average person who's watching is allow small business owners to get a 10-year lease and binding arbitration thereafter that 10-year lease. So long as they pay their rent, they'll be able to continue in that location. Big landlords know that when you're in a small business, it's about location, location, location. And the landlord uses that as leverages over the small businesses. From wherever I go, from City Island, like you mentioned, that has a problem with this, to East Tremont, where we just lost the Clipper, to Pelham Bay, where we lost Quality Diner. These are the issues that are defining our neighborhoods. We're losing the character of our neighborhoods because the small businesses are being driven out. And all we're getting in return are Baychester Square and Throgs Neck Shopping Mall. I don't patronize those places. I don't think we should. We should do more to help our small businesses. We need to level the playing field. The Small Business Job Survival Act will do just that.
Others? Ms. Velasquez?
This is something actually that's very personal to me. My mother-in-law actually lost her business when the Baychester Mall came into play. She had a small children's clothing store, and it was forced to shut down because of the mall. And what could have been done and what could be done, yes, I agree with Mark here that we do need bids, but we also need SBS to come in. Help us small businesses know where they're going to be fined prior to get their fines, prior to their violations, because they're not on the same standard as these big box shops. For these big box shops, those fines are nothing. But this actually could break our families, and that's actually one of the things that we need to target. We do that with SBS, we do that with bids, we do that with community involvement. When we're also reaching out to our residents and our families within the district, it's letting them know, please patronize your mom and pops. They mean everything. And when we're giving services to our community, make sure that awareness comes from within. Making sure that our community boards are active and talking about what are the local stores offering and working one-on-one with the stores to see if there's any help that they can have. And it's giving a voice, and that's what I'm advocating for.
Okay. Did you want to weigh in on small
Gary,
business?
I'm the only candidate on this panel that is actually taking a position against the small business
Against, did you say?
improvement. Yes, business, the bids. Okay, business improvement districts. Why? At the end of the day, it becomes a 6% additional tax on small mom and pop. So it's somewhat of oxymoron when they talk about helping small businesses, but you want to impose an additional 6%. As we speak, the wheels are spinning. Morris Park and Throgs Neck, they have a bid that's being proposed. The city planning just approved the bid at the Morris Park. I'm totally against it. In fact, I'm going there this week down to go review the paperwork that was filed. I don't want to increase bread. I don't want to increase the milk for our seniors. 6% is an additional tax that small business owners should not and required to pay under the plan of Joe and I's plan on Morris Park and on Throgs Neck.
We'll give you the final word, Assemblyman.
When it comes to protecting mom and pop shops, the bids will be a voice for them to fight this over regulation, to fight this over taxation, whether it be through water and sewer rates or real estate taxes. These mom and pop shops don't have the time to know what regulation is coming down that impacts their industry. Bids will be a standing voice for them to make sure they continue to thrive without being penalized. I don't see another way to do this aside from having a spokesperson and a unionizing of these mom and pop shops, and that would be through a bid or the Chamber of Commerce.
Gary, I must add to this, if I may have
Be
permission.
quick, because we're going to want to move to the next.
The fact is that these bids are becoming political entities, just like the school boards were. We have right now the Westchester Square administrator, the manager, took a leave of absence to operate and work for Joe and I's campaign. So these bids have become very political. They want to control communities, and it's all about politics.
You get the final word if you want it.
I'm happy she joined my team. It's a tremendous asset for me to have. She knows the community. She works hard for mom and pop shops. She knows their issues. That's a tremendous asset that is a tremendous asset for me as we address these issues and come up with long-term solutions to help these mom and pop shops that are struggling.
Thank you very much. Ms. Velasquez, the smaller New Century schools were created to get students out of the large schools where they seem to get lost. Yet on BronxNet's In the District program, you criticized the splitting up of the large high schools. What would you advocate? Are you advocating turning back the clock on this, or is there another solution out there for the city's high school? Or an increase in charters a good option, for example?
I'm a firm believer in public education. I went through 8th grade, from kindergarten to 8th grade for public education, and I was a student that participated in the Gifted and Talented program, and that's how I was able to actually skip a grade in math and science when I entered high school. When I go back to my middle school, that program's not available anymore. And when we're looking at the co-locations and charter schools, unfortunately, charter schools get to select their students. They're creating segregation. They are forcing parents to tell their kids, well, the lotto didn't work for you or you weren't selected. How do you tell a child that? How do you get to select? It's not fair. It's not fair to our teachers. It's not fair to our students. It's definitely not fair to our families. What we need to do is really invest those funds from Eva Moskowitz, who is making $500,000, and she is the head of Success Academy, taking that money and giving it back to our teachers, our students, our families, and giving great options like affordable after school, making sure that our students have the chance to fight equally amongst all the other kids in New York City. And we are the forgotten borough here in the Bronx, and that's what I'm advocating for. It's actually, let's put a moratorium on charter schools. Let's really invest in our public school education system, and let's make sure that we are on a fair standing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Doyle.
I want to echo actually everything Marjorie just said, but I also want to talk a little bit more about an in the district example. I think that the split up of the high schools has really just led to an explosion of the bureaucracy, and that's where a lot of this money is going to. It's not going into the classroom to reduce class sizes where it's most desperately needed. We saw a real life example of this at the Lehman High School campus. We had 6 different schools, and as a result there was a real security situation where people were pulling the fire alarm box and causing havoc in all those schools. I have friends who were teachers there. It was pandemonium, and it was caused by bad administration and bad management. Chancellor Farina had to come up there to settle the issue. This has showed that these smaller schools just do not work. And when the last thing we need to do is put money into the charter school industry. I can say that because they're not funding my campaign.
Obviously, we must get back to the reason why these high schools were split up. Why were they divided? Because they failed. They failed our children. They failed our community. And what do we do now? We're going to have to put more money into schools. The state spent $22,000. That's not enough. That's not enough. By the time it gets to a classroom level, it might be at $3,000, $3,500 for a classroom for every child. We need the state to provide more money, and the state owes New York City money. Right. It's owed to us to make our schools better.
Mr. Joan, I assume you want to...
One of the proudest things I've done in Albany is work on a budget, negotiate 5 on-time budgets. In each budget, we allocated more money toward education. It's a priority for me. It's our future. It's our single largest investment. This past budget, 1 out of every $6 went into education. I'm proud of that. We must continue to do more, but we'll always be there, and I'll do my part. And that's why I'm running for city council, so I can be part of this process. Yeah. When the money's allocated, how we spend it, how do we prevent these schools from being broken up, how do we give these children the options, the parents, the options that they want for their children. That's what I'll be advocating for.
Okay, quick
Gary,
word from you, and then
I'm
she
sorry,
finishes
I just can't
up.
stand for that. A fact of the matter is the state still owes the city $4 billion. Billion with a B.
Yeah.
The state has failed us on education, pure and simple. And frankly, it's done with 3 men in a room, and Mark, with due respect, you're not one of the 3 men in the room. And the result in our district has been a travesty. And where I went to school, PS 175, we're owed $500,000. In PS 97, up on Allerton Avenue, they're owed $1.5. It's atrocious. Albany has failed our children, and the last place we should be looking for leadership on education is Albany.
You get the final word, Ms. Velasquez?
I'd like to echo John's sentiment. It's, Albany has failed us. We have $4 billion that needs to come back into our schools and our school safety. It's just, our families need it at this point. It's taking a stance against for-profit charter schools that are making money off our taxpayers' backs. It's not fair to us, it's not fair to our families. And when we're talking about the red tape, look, I know what it is to be stuck in bureaucracy. I was hurt. I got into 2 accidents, and I saw firsthand what it did to me in my life and what it did to the families that didn't have the same benefits that I did. I'm bilingual. I have access to the best lawyers and the best doctors, and yet I was still stuck in this red tape. What is it doing to our families now and in the school system? It's unfair, and that Albany has not done anything for our families. Come on, you could do better.
You wanted to say something, then she gets the final word if necessary.
Unfortunately, my colleagues here on this panel don't understand government. Year over year, we've increased the budget to education by more than $1 billion, from $1 billion to $1.175 a year over year. You know, we do a great job talking about education. It's at a city level. We funded it at a state level. At a city level, we haven't acknowledged the tale of 2 students. Those that live or get to enjoy the privileges of being inside the schools, and those that have to go to classrooms in trailers, which many of them are healthy safety hazards. They have to put on a jacket, whether the cold, the rain, to go use a restroom or to have lunch. There's a large injustice out there, and I'll continue to fight and be an advocate for those students, as I have in Albany, and I'm looking forward to doing the same in City Hall.
You get the final word if you want it. Anything further?
I mean, it's when you talk about bringing back a fight, or when you talk about experience, if the experience is, you know, lack of services, backroom deals, then that's the experience in the services that we don't need in the district. We need transparency, we need accountability, and we need you to bring the money back home, which you failed to do.
Just
we're
real
going to
quickly,
move on now.
Just one quick thing. The
you-
Alliance
you
for Quality
can't do it because
Education
then-
disagrees. That's all.
Okay. Mr. Doyle, let's talk about City Island. What is needed to align development and tourism with local residents' concerns, and at the same time help preserve the traditional character of City Island as that quaint, tourist-loved maritime community?
Oh, how much time do I have on that? Because I
You
probably
don't
need
have a
more
lot
than 90
because
seconds
the-
to address those
the
things.
clock is ticking inexorably on.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time on City Island. It's where I call home. I've got to see these issues up close. I think that at the end of the day, we need to do more to help people stay in their shops. That's why I support the Small Business Survival Act. I think that's very important. I think people are drawn to City Island because of its quaint nature. That's why you've interviewed me on your show about City Island several times. I think at the end of the day, what we need is to preserve our zoning. People like, you know, the homeowning aspects of it. They like the small density of the community. And truly, I am deeply, deeply worried about all the money the developers are spending on this race. Zoning is on the ballot September 12th. Don't let anyone tell you differently.
Others? City Island?
Yeah.
Mr. Jonai, sure.
I have 14 years of fond memories of living on City Island. Both my boys were born there. My wife is the school nurse at PS 175 on City Island. I have long ties to that area and that community. I'm looking forward to getting elected in City Council and moving back to City Island. I've always been there for City Island. My kids are, I'm a mussel sucker, they're clam diggers, and I'm looking forward to representing City Island the rest of the 13th Council District.
Others?
I just want to touch on that, the statement about moving back. Let's remember that Mr. Assemblyman placed his hand on the Bible 6 months ago and swore that he was going to uphold his constitutional obligation to the people of Morris Park, Pelham Parkway. 6 months later, he's here running for city council. He hasn't given up his assembly district. And we think that lacks character and also is on the verge of fraudulent behavior for an assemblyman. And I'm going to ask him again, I asked him at the last debate, for the assemblyman to resign from the assembly now, before September 12th.
I'll let you respond to that before we move on.
It's very simple. Again, there's 2 ways to do this. One of negativity, divisiveness, trying to paint the boogeyman in every campaign. I'm going to continue to take the high road, be above all of that, run a positive campaign. Because at the end of the day, all of these negative things that you hear will not make a difference in the lives of our constituents. They have real issues, real pains that should be addressed. And this negative polarizing that's affecting the whole nation is something that unfortunately we're experiencing in the 13th Council District race. I will and always put the interest of the community first. Every man, woman, and child in the 13th Council District is a priority for me.
But not Morris Sparkle, Pelham Parkway, has he?
I think,
Ms.
let's just take it
Velasquez,
back
and
to
then
what
Mr.
it
Doyle,
is.
you wrap it up.
Yeah.
Let's just make it sure that we're looking at City Island. Let's focus it back on the question, and it's how do we build up City Island but still keep its charm? And it is just recognizing, look, it's a land of opportunity. It gave my dad his first job, and it continues to flourish many families in the community. Going there, you see the needs. They need better transit options, more bus service. They need a ferry service. These are the needs. This is what we really need to focus on. This banter here, it's not helping anyone. At the end of the day, we need to fight for our families in City Island. I'm ready to take on that fight.
Mr. Doyle, you get the final word.
Thank you, because the question was about City Island, so let's bring
was.
it back there, as Marjorie
Let's
said.
do it and move on.
Here's my 3-point action plan. 1, bus service 24/7, on the hour transportation service. I'll go down, I'll fight for it, I'll show up at the MTA meetings to make it happen. 2, as Marjorie said, we have to expand the ferry service there. 3, I want to make sure the Gateway project, which has been a long project that community advocates have been pushing for, finally gets done. We have waterfront access right at the entryway of the bridge. That will be a nice, pleasant attraction for City Island and repair something that is an eyesore now. I'll fight to get it done.
Thank you very much. We're going to take another short break, folks. It's the 13th City Council District Democratic primary on Bronx Talk on BronxNet. We'll be right back.
I guess sometimes things just happen. Devastating things. Your whole world changes in an instant. That's what happened to me the day my mother had a stroke. I'm Paul George, and I want you to spot a stroke fast. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. Protect the ones you love. Spot a stroke fast.
Open up your books to page 360.
Did you just look at your phone while you was in class? You played yourself.
Talking about inspirational quotes.
You gotta believe in yourself. Don't ever play yourself. The key is to make it, so make it.
Louise, can you give me an example of an inspirational quote?
Don't play yourself. The key is to make it.
And who said that?
I did. Now that's a major key alert.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at getschool.com.
Welcome back to Bronx Talk. It is the 13th City Council District Democratic primary, and we're up to you, Mr. Sementilli. You brought it up earlier, but I want to put it out there because it is a major news story in the 13th Council District. The proposed transformation of 2800 Bruckner Boulevard from an office building into something else has been a front and center news story. So what should happen at 2800? And the larger question, how can the city enact the plan for shelters throughout the city one way or the other?
Right now, as we stand, we're not sure what's happening at 2800.
Well, so the question was, what should happen?
Oh, what should happen? What should happen, the CO should be changed, and we should make that into a business building. We should encourage businesses, professional businesses to go to that building and encourage it. 2800 is a troubled building. We have a developer who, unfortunately, I must keep saying this. It's not that I want to pick on the assemblyman, but the assemblyman received $500 from the developer. I didn't get $500 from the developer. Doyle didn't. Vasquez didn't. None of us got. He received $500 from development, right? There's a connection here. There's a connection to that and Mayor de Blasio's 90 homeless shelters that he wishes to impose throughout all of the communities in New York City. And is it possible that this 2800 is a location for a homeless shelter? Possible. We're going to be there. We're fighting. All of us have been at the rallies. We've been fighting for the rallies, and we're going to continue to fight for Trog's Neck and all of the community. And remember, we have one in Pelham Bay that I held rallies. I had protests, 3 protests at Pelham Bay General Hospital, which is a drug homeless shelter right now.
Let's Mr. Doyle first. I guess we'll go right down the line. I'm sure everybody has something to
This
say
is a
about
huge
this
issue
one.
for the district, Gary, and I thank you for bringing it up. Just today, I called on Attorney General Schneiderman to look into Stewart redevelopment. Their website reads like a Ponzi scheme. It's disgraceful. They're trying to take money from people on one end, promising them a 500% return, and then on the other end, they're going to say they're going to do supportive housing. On what earth would we allow people who are scheming on one end to care for the most vulnerable on the other? It's wrong. And frankly, I understand the apprehension that many Throgs Neck residents have. As Egidio mentioned, in Pelham Bay, when it was the Pelham Grand and the Capri Lounge, they were moved in overnight. There was no trust between the government and the people, and a big part of my candidacy is going to be about restoring that trust.
Ms. Velasquez and then Senator Jonah.
For me, I took this first steps and I decided to start a petition. I decided to involve the neighborhood, the families who are directly impacted. Tenants were evicted illegally, and what we're doing and we're dealing with is developers who are changing their stories left and right. I've contacted them many a times. Mr. D'Alessio saying that he is no longer the owner, but then comes out and is the owner, and there's so much lack of transparency. And that's what's at the real issue here. The community wants to know what's happening. This lack of transparency, lack of communication is what drove me to start this petition, which has over 700 signatures, and it's about involving the community. And that's why I'm very proud of Community Board 10 in establishing an ad hoc committee for overdevelopment. It's about having families having a direct knowledge as to what's going on before the developer even hits the shovel to the ground. Why? Because we need to know what's happening. And the fact that they haven't communicated, and when they do, it's lies after lies. You know, they need to be held accountable. I'm not afraid to hold them accountable. I'm not afraid to go door to door asking for signatures. I've been on the forefront of this issue and continue to do so. Others here, there's one particular person, you know, has been silent on certain issues when it comes to development, and I'd love to hear what they have to say. Besides, let them eat cake.
As you can see, I continue to get the love up here, and you've got to have thick skin for this game. First of all, as I said early on, there's 2 ways to run a campaign. I'll take the high road. But to answer the questions or the allegations, and it's true, it's a fact that Mr. D'Alessio made a $500 donation. When 2800 Bruckner Boulevard became the issue, that money was used to pay for the coffee and donuts of all of the residents that came together across town diner. In addition, just to make sure I set the record straight, I can't be bought. I'll be doing an additional $500 to the legal defense fund of those tenants. But what you asked, and to get back to the case, 2800 Bruckner Boulevard, that area is all 1 and 2 family homes. It's residential neighborhood. It does not allow for a shelter to come in. We don't know what is going to be done there. I've reached out to the owners, to the managers, to the operators. I'll be fighting tooth and nail, but there's a clear plan here, and petitions are great, and the sound bites are wonderful, but you need someone who's going to roll up their sleeves. We're going to first begin a legal defense fund to keep those tenants in their offices, so the landlord cannot do as he wishes with that property. Secondly, we're going to I started a lawsuit, or will be starting a lawsuit in the near future, that prevents the inundation of the borough of the Bronx when it comes to supportive housing units. The borough of the Bronx has the same number of supportive housing units as Brooklyn, yet they have twice as many residents. We need a fairness approach here. We need one that's going to be balanced. Citywide, there has to be a issue there that is going to require our brother's keeper to be there for supportive housing, but not in the borough of the Bronx, not solely on this borough. We already have the least skilled, the least educated. We don't, even though there may be some great families out there, we don't need more. And that burden shouldn't be borne solely by the borough of the Bronx.
You get the final word on this, Mr. Sementilli.
I stood with Councilman King when there was a bait and switch by Staggs Corporation, White Plains. I know there was one on Kingsbridge Road. I'm concerned about the one on Pelham Parkway, also 1680, that Stagg owns. All these developments, the problem is we don't hear our elected officials talking about affordable housing for seniors. We don't see them talking about affordable housing.
Move quicker because we're running out of time.
I want to say that we need development for senior housing and affordable housing, not supportive housing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're almost out of time, so rather than ask another large question, I'm just going to go right down the line with a quick question. What's your favorite place to be in the Bronx when you're at leisure?
Orchard Beach, Bronx Zoo, Botanical Gardens.
Well, I know I was looking for one favorite.
Actually, one favorite,
A
at
place
home with my
that's
wife
not
and
obvious.
kids.
At home with the kids, that's fair enough. For you, Ms. Velasquez.
The Blackwell on Sundays with their incredible brunch.
There you go, Mr. Doyle.
Going to get me in trouble because I'm not going to say something from City Island. Conti's Bakery on Morris Park Avenue in Van Ness.
Which one? I'm sorry.
Conti's Bakery in Van
Bakery.
Ness.
All right, there's a
Good
tip
coffee.
for-
People should go.
There's a tip for everybody here,
There we
Mr.
go.
Cementilli.
Shamrock Irish Pub on Crosby Avenue. I know the family.
Fair enough. We're going to do one more, and we'll start on this end. Favorite movie?
Favorite movie? Favorite movie.
You want to go?
Let's skip it. Favorite. I have so many of
Get you a
them.
subscription to Netflix.
The Deer Hunter. I'll go with the Deer Hunter. I love the Deer Hunter.
I was going to say, I think my friend, this is the first time he's ever passed on speaking.
I know.
I would say Bulworth. I'm not going to get up here and start rapping for you all, but it's a good movie and it tells a lot about our political system.
And Ms. Velasquez?
Wow, there's so many, and I'm such a big movie buff. I'm going to have to pass on that because it's going to be a tough one. I'm so sorry.
All right, we'll get you some popcorn and a subscription to Netflix, and you'll figure it out.
Definitely.
Guilty of Game of Thrones. Love it.
All right, fair enough. Candidates, thank you so much for joining us this evening. This was obviously a very spirited debate, and I know you all agree with me that everybody who's eligible to vote should come out to vote. It is time now for closing statements, and each one will have 1 minute to deliver that statement. By prior agreement, Assemblyman, no, it goes this way. You get the first one. Same order that we've had.
Excellent. On September 12th, I encourage every man, woman, and child that's able to vote to go out to the polls, vote for Joe and I. If you're looking for a better quality of life, a brighter future, a safer neighborhood, you should vote for me because I'm the only one that has the experience, the relationships to deliver for this community. And I promise I won't let you down. I pride myself on a strong work ethic. I pride myself on getting up every morning, 7 days a week, putting the interest of the community first. And I promise, as I have in the last 5 years as a state assemblyman, I won't let you down.
Thank you very much, Ms. Velasquez.
Thank you, Gary, and thank you, BronxNet, for hosting today's debate. For me, I'm a daughter of the Bronx. I'm cut from the same cloth of strength and determination that many of the families in my district have. My parents came in from Puerto Rico, barely any English, barely any funds, and fought really hard to give me and my siblings a better life. And it's that strength and determination that has led me to be more active in my community after 2 major accidents. And it is for them that I stand together with them and always involve them. And I put people first because they have a voice and we need to hear everyone speak. And that's why I'm here at the forefront. And I've challenged so many people from the governor to the mayor, and I will continue my challenge because you know what, at the end of the day, people need to be held accountable. And as an accountant, I know how to do that. And that's the strength and determination and experience that I have to bring. So I'm asking everyone, if you believe in Marjorie, come out and vote September 12th. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Doyle.
The Bronx is my home, always has been. I've been fighting for this borough for many years. For the last 10 years, I've had a multitude of experiences, working for a state senator, working at Jacoby Medical Center, being a dedicated community activist. We've gotten so much done. This is probably the hardest of all. We've taken on an entrenched political establishment, and I will not wait my turn for another office or anything like that. It's all on the line, because the issues we're facing, overdevelopment, pricing out of our mom and pops, poor transit options, a better education system, are things worth fighting for, not in 10 years, here and now. That's been my life, a life dedicated to struggle, a life dedicated to service, and I want to go down to City Hall and put the neighborhood first. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cementilli.
Thank you, Gary, for having us here, and we do really appreciate it. And I want to let the people know that I have over 30 years of experience. I've been advocating for issues related to betterment our community for the past 30 years. Today, we stand at a crossroad. We have a mayor that, if elected, if Mayor de Blasio is elected, we are going to have the worst 4 years. We need to send someone there, someone to City Hall that's going to advocate for our community. Middle class, working class community. Our streets need to be cleaner, quieter, and safer. Quality enforcement is very important. All the little urination littering, dog pooing, all these little quality of life issues must be enforced. The broken window theory must come back. We must institute it and make our community safe. Every family, every child, every person needs to have a safe community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Candidates, you have exhibited the best of the Bronx, and we appreciate each one of you for joining us tonight. And again, I know while you might not agree on everything, I know you will agree with me that every eligible voter should come out to vote on September 12th.
Amen.
Viewers, please note it is a primary election, so only registered voters enrolled in the Democratic Party in the 13th Council District can vote in this particular election. Also, we want to thank our co-sponsors, the Bronx Times Reporter, the Bronx Free Press, and the League of Women's Voters. For more information, please call the League at 212-725-3541. Next week, it will be the candidates in the Democratic primary for the 18th Council District. And then on the 28th of August, it will be the candidates in the Democratic primary for the 14th Council District. We thank you for watching. We thank BronxNet for the wonderful crew they put together for this evening. Our producer is Lindsay Violet. The director is Brianna Roller. Please make sure to vote on September 12th.
They said I have troll teeth.
That my voice sounded like a possessed baby doll.
That no one would ever love someone as stupid as me.
That I was fat, ugly.
Disgusting.
The effect of bullying is potent.
We will no longer be the silent majority.
Now, when you see online bullying, there's something you can do about it.
We're gonna take action with the I.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness, and so are you.
Welcome, everybody. We are open. I'm the Dr. Bob Lee from 107.5 WBLS. You can catch me on there each and every night right after the Quiet Storm. You can catch me right here on Open.